Derrick Rose was an absolute problem in the 2011 season. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive on the film and break down what exactly made Rose so special before he got hit with injuries. Now at age 22, Rose was a ridiculous athlete. Besides Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose was easily the quickest and bounciest point guard in the league, where he could shoot up like a pogo stick and catch lobs above the rim, while also having the first step to create blow-bys on the perimeter at will. Plus, he had the body control to knife through traffic and elevate up for tough finishes. Now, I want to start things off by looking at Derrick's game in isolation, and this is where he was one of the toughest covers in the league. And again, everything comes back to his first step and ability to play above the rim. Defensively, there was no room for error when guarding Rose. If you came out of your stance for a split second, it was going to be a guaranteed blow-by. You'll see him here lift Paul George up with the shot fake. Then he's going to shoot his right foot back to push himself through this gap and draw a foul in the paint. On top of his physical tools, Rose's ball handling and footwork was also a huge element in his attacking game, where Rose had both a sticky handle and the footwork that paired perfectly with his speed. Off the dribble, Derrick was elite at using these skips to pick up momentum with the ball, where he would take a dribble and float his feet up, giving himself the leverage to load up and explode downhill. You'll see him here going at PG in isolation, and watch Rose bring the ball through and skip his feet up, which again gives him the momentum to explode into his attack. This is a perfect counter off that move, where Rose again goes between and floats up, but now he's going to transfer all his weight to his outside foot and transition into this crossover. And Rose from this spot has the control to immediately pick up and explode through traffic for this and one. And Rose also had the ability to mix up the timing of his attack. Notice on this play how he's going to keep his feet grounded. And as he creeps the ball through, Rose from this low stance has the ability to explode downhill.
He approached 2 minutes to go in the fourth. Rose.
So while Derrick had the ability to load up and dust the defense in a variety of ways, he could also quickly change direction while attacking downhill full speed. And this was maybe one of the biggest factors that made Rose so tough to cover, because the defense practically had to rotate their hips in order to stay in front of Derrick's first attack. But there was then no chance of recovering after he whips these crossovers. You'll see this defender here scramble across to get back in front of the ball, but there's no way for him to recover as Rose changes direction back towards the middle. And then outside of these violent change of direction moves, Rose also had a really shifty handle, where he was great at selling moves with his entire body, which adds another element to his attacking game. This move here is simple but really tough, where Rose completely shifts his drop big out of his frame with this in and out. And watch him curl the ball, drop his head and shoulders, then plant his outside foot to sell this move. Rose also played with pretty good pace by constantly changing his level to then drop back down and cook the defense with these shifty crossovers. Notice on this play how Rose is first going to lift up, then drop his stance and lift his eyes up to sell the shot, which lifts this defender out of his stance, setting up this push cross to his right. So in isolation, D Rose had all the quickness, ball control, and footwork to cook the NBA's best perimeter defenders. And I don't think we've ever seen this combination of skill and athleticism. And all those tools carry right over to Rose's game in pick and roll, where the defense had literally no room for error. If Derrick was able to turn the corner and get open space to attack into, it was either going to be 2 points or free throws. We'll see the Pacers here have a brief miscommunication on the screen, and in a split second, Rose is attacking into open space to his left. When playing with the ball, Derrick also had a pretty good feel of space and angles by constantly having his head up and finding weak points to attack into. And when he turned the corner, Derrick was not afraid of contact around the basket. This play here is crazy, where the Pacers are going to aggressively show on the screen, and Rose is able to split this hard hedge. Now from here, about 99% of point guards would either pull up, beat this big with some kind of pro hop or euro, or maybe look for a passing read on the weak side of the floor. But Derrick instead elects to pick up and violently lift off 2 feet to attack this big's body. When turning the corner, Rose was also comfortable playing in tight spaces. You'll see him here come off the screen to his right, then slice right past his drop big by cutting the angle back across to his left. Derrick's pace and ability to sharply change direction also carries over to his pick and roll scoring, where he can stop and start his attacks extremely quickly. Watch him here dribble around this hedge. Then he's going to briefly slow down with the ball and re-attack back to his left. And again, once he feels the defense's stance open up, he's gonna again change direction back towards the middle. This play really shows how Derrick was at a different gear, where he takes one hard dribble to his right, and once he feels the defense overcommit to his drive, Rose is gonna transfer the ball through and leave the defense in the dust. So because the defense couldn't afford to let Rose comfortably work off these screens, the man guarding the ball will calmly overplay these picks, which opened up these easy refusals.
Just make him shoot over.
Watch him here turn and drop his body, as if he's about to blast off his pick. And once he feels this defender leaning, Rose is going to snap this crossover back to his left. We can see him hit the exact same move here, where Rose again brings the ball up and sells that he's about to use the screen, to then again refuse it back to his left. So in the half court, Rose did a vast majority of his work in isolation and pick and roll, where he had the quickness and skill to consistently break down the first line of defense, plus the verticality and control to generate buckets and fouls at the rim. And we haven't even gone over probably the best part of Derrick's game, which is going to be his play in transition. Out on the break, Rose was an absolute nightmare for the defense, where he both had the ability to push the ball and put pressure on the defense, and fill lanes to catch lobs above the rim. And throughout his career, he's for sure racked up some ridiculous highlights. Now with the ball in transition, Derrick's ball and body control was the biggest factor to his scoring and creating. When handling the ball at full speed, Rose had the ball on a string, where he was comfortable putting combinations together without stopping his momentum. You'll see him here catch and take one aggressive dribble, then punch this inside out and extend to the rim. Now this may seem like a pretty basic move, but having your body, feet, and ball all in sync while attacking at this speed is super tough. This move here is also crazy, where again without breaking stride, Derrick is going to hit this inside out behind combo, and he's going to again explode through this move and elevate up towards the rim. On the break, Rose also had ridiculous body control, being able to initiate and absorb contact with the ball while getting to controlled finishes after attacking full speed. We'll see him again here pushing the ball on the break, and he's going to first push the ball across to his right, then pick up and explode off 2 feet. And from here, Derrick is going to use his inside shoulder to create this finishing window out to his right. Another one of D Rose's go-to moves was his spin, which again he could get to while going at the defense at top speed.
Spins inside. Hello.
So when handling the ball on the break, Rose was a real scoring threat, and the defense had to build a wall in order to keep him out of the deep paint. But that then opened up some pretty clear passing reads. Now Derrick overall has never been a super advanced playmaker, but he was very unselfish and willing to give up the ball early, which is all you really need when you have this type of scoring gravity. When pushing the ball on the break, Rose also had a pretty good feel of the entire court, being able to read these defensive shifts to then snap these dimes all over the court. Notice here how Rose pulls these 4 defenders to one side of the floor, so he automatically picks up and whips this skip pass over to the opposite wing. And that downhill scoring also sets up Derrick's playmaking in the half court, where again the defense had to build up a wall to keep him out of the deep paint, opening up more routine passes. And while Derrick did have the speed and skill to knife through traffic, he was still more than willing to make the simple play. If the help side defense slid too deep in the gap, he had no problem making these easy kickout passes.
Rose, Culver, yes.
And those simple reads also carried over to his passing and pick and roll, where if Rose was able to get 2 on the ball, he would pretty consistently make the correct pass out. And while playing downhill, Derrick also had a pretty good feel of the entire court, where he could read the weak side defense and punish them with these cross-court skip passes. You'll see him here read this defender sliding down to tag the roller. So Rose in response is going to snap this dime over to the opposite corner. This is also a really good pass here, where Rose is playing in pick and roll at the top of the key, and he reads this extra defender sliding over, which opens up another skip pass to the corner. So Derrick had both the ability to put pressure on the rim with his downhill scoring and punish the defense for sending heavy shifts. Those two skills were enough by itself to make Rose one of the best scorers and creators across the league. Now, when extending out and looking at Derrick scoring from outside the paint, this was never his biggest strength. If the defense was able to push him out into some kind of perimeter look, that was obviously a win. And while Rose was never the most consistent perimeter shooter, he still had the skills and tools to effectively generate these looks. Because the defense was so paranoid about Derrick slashing, he could pretty easily push them back off the dribble, giving himself plenty of airspace to rise up. You'll see him here do nothing super advanced off the dribble. He's just going to take one hard pound to his left, and notice how this defender is already dropping back, looking to cut off his driving angle. But that then gives Rose plenty of space to stop and pop this jumper. We'll see him here get back to that skip off the dribble, but instead of exploding downhill, Rose is going to flow into this pull-up. So Derrick had the pace, footwork, and ball handling to create these in-between pull-ups at will. And while his pull-up game wasn't as efficient as his deep paint scoring, these were still shots he could comfortably get to if need be. Now, when extending out further and looking at Rose's three-point shooting, this was probably the biggest weakness in his game. Rose was never a consistent three-point shooter, which led to the defense calmly going under his screens in an attempt to bait him into these looks. And while Rose's jumper was never completely broke, these shots were still never his calling card. But when looking at Derrick's game as a whole from this year, there is still no doubt that he was in the conversation for one of the most explosive point guards in NBA history. And along with those physical tools, Rose was also an extremely skilled player, having depth and creativity to his handle, while also having a variety of finishes in his game. I think if Rose was able to both stay healthy and develop his outside shooting, he may have turned into an all-time great point guard.